back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Yes, Mike Washington is back in the building. Charles, can you believe it?
I see him. Look at him over there. Look at that.
Man,
Mike Washington back in the building. Right on. Wait, welcome back, brother.
I think it's some AI, artificial intelligence.
You just never know.
Back from assignment.
Never mind, it's not AI. He's back with the same wit and everything, so it worked out perfectly. As Charles jumps out in there, we'll bring him back shortly in terms of what that looks like. But Mike, as we're doing that, I want to say welcome to episode 480 inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institution large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer. That's Mr. Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. That being said, man, this first week of deaning, as we like to call it, from this perspective at the highest level, worked as the associate dean for a number of years now, and had a chance to even step in on an acting framework, but now interim. First week, so far so good. I'm still here. So I'm still breathing. I'm in front of y'all, so we made it so far.
Well, Doc, you still in the thunder because we want to congratulate you on the appointment in terms of being the interim dean. So we want to give you your kudos in terms of the new appointment in terms of being the interim dean over there at the College of Education. So congratulations.
I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Got to give you your flowers now, brother, man. Congratulations. Long overdue, well deserved. Man, you can let me borrow 50 cents and buy me a drink. Of coffee.
I can't hear you. Something is wrong with the signal. The AI has got the signal going. It's being repetitive. That's all right. Well, we get a chance to celebrate tomorrow, so I look forward to it as we do our due. And I encourage all the folks out there to celebrate each other in regards to this opportunity. The world is in disarray in some ways. But as we deal with that and try to hopefully change it for the better, it's also important that we celebrate each other in the various ways because nothing is promised. So with that being said, let's get into some HBCU news. I'm going to go back to the old drawing board. I'm going to go to Charles. Let Charles kick it off. Since Mike has been a little tardy these days, I'm going to make him wait a little more.
Well, let's start things off. 4 HBCU basketball teams are ranked in the Division II polls, and this is from the Charlotte Observer. Total of 4 HBCU women's basketball programs from the CIAA and the SIAC are rated among the best in Division II basketball. A pair of CIAA schools, Fayetteville State and Virginia State, are ranked in the D2 CSC Atlantic Regional Poll, despite suffering losses over this past weekend. Fayetteville State is currently tied for third with Fairmont State of the Mountain East Conference. Both teams tip off the week with records of 14-2, and very interesting. I'm sure we'll get into talking about it, but Fayetteville State, after losing 63-53 to Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte this past Saturday, it was ranked second in its previous week's poll. And Virginia State is ranked fifth in the region with a record of 15-2. It dropped from the number 3 spot in the region after falling to its rival, Virginia Union, 70-56 on Saturday. There are also 2 HBCUs in the South region ranked as well, both of them in the SIAC. Kentucky State and Miles are both ranked in the region. Kentucky State is ranked number 7 in the region with a record of 13-2. Just behind it is Miles College with a record of 13-1. And get this, also Savannah State receiving votes. So big news in terms of some HBCUs getting some national recognition.
Good stuff, particularly on the women's side. They're up in there on the men's side as well. But, man, it was a tough weekend this week for Benedict. They go down on Saturday, then they come back and lose another one. Morehouse gets it done as they running around here, and you're like, okay, it's time to see that. And Edward Waters dumps on somebody as they get it done. So topsy-turvy in the top of the SIEC, particularly in that Eastern Division. It's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like. Clark Atlanta is in the mix in a little bit. I see Charles at the golf part and hip hop. I see.
I had somebody ask in the chat, what is that on there? Golf art, and hip hop.
I like it.
Little sweatshirt. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty dope.
That's nice. I need to get one of those, man.
Oh, no doubt. Shout out to my sister-in-law.
Now all of a sudden Mike wants to act like he golfs a little bit.
Yeah. I need to get a hookup on one of them shirts.
No doubt.
Mike, we just need you to slow down on all that work with your assignments, man. We got you on enough assignment. Now you want another assignment to go get the shirt. Slow down, man. Slow down. Take a breath.
Just taking it easy, bro. I'm just taking it easy, man.
There you go.
let me do me.
He said, let me do me. Yeah, I'm going to let you do me. Go ahead and give us some other HBCU updates.
Well, I'm a little bit rusty, so I don't know if I'm a little bit behind, but I've been catching up on tweets or whatever. Excuse the voice. Been a little under the weather as well. Did we talk about the HBCU alumni from the Detroit Tigers who's just been recently named or received NFL honors? Have we talked about that gentleman, Mr. Brad Holmes?
Go for it.
Yeah, Detroit Executive Vice President and General Manager Brad Holmes been making moves with the Lions. So they had their basically their first division title since 1993. He's been named 2023 NFL Executive of the Year. So when as we move into basketball season, a lot of these awards keep coming. He attended North Carolina A&T and directed the Lions return to a division title and the NFC's number 3 seed in 2023. And a lot of the moves, a lot of the personnel that they had were attributed to this gentleman and this gentleman alone. So they were 6-3 on the road, tying a franchise road record. They were 12-5 overall, had one of the top defenses, one of the top running games. So kudos to this North Carolina A&T Aggie, Mr. Brad Holmes, General Manager, Vice President for the Detroit Lions on the NFL Executive of the Year.
Oh, that's big news. Big news. I no longer watch the NFL, but I can always get behind when HBCU alum are getting it done and certainly getting it done in that manner. I will say this though, when you talk about the NFL, Detroit, all those fans up there that delivered mighty pain. If they find a way to beat San Francisco and head to the Super Bowl,
Lord have mercy.
oh, it's
Oh
gonna get really fancy up there. You talking about them Gator shoes? They're gonna be all over the place
man,
in Las Vegas.
I saw a picture of some 1980 some soulful pimps, and they said they already got the Super Bowl attire out. I'm like,
Now think about this. On the other side, obviously, the prohibited favorite in a lot of ways is Baltimore. You talking about two predominantly black cities being in that
oh,
would be
man.
entertaining as well, because they would come out the woodworks with Baltimore and Detroit playing in the Super Bowl. That would get a little interesting in a lot of different ways. Well, we're gonna park it right there in terms of talking a little NFL. We can do that too, but it's not what we decide to do, and certainly not something that I'm going to put a lot of time in. But academically, I like this. St. Augustine's professor creates content platform for HBCU athletic programs from the HBCU sports. St. Augustine's professor Mark Jonas, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, took note of the struggles not only at his institution, but also several others that they were facing in terms of content creation and promotion. He created a viable solution. He created Schoolcast, a platform that HBCUs can use to publish and monetize content, creating revenue streams for sports programs and the university. High school sports programs can use Schoolcast as well. Quote, over the last 5 years, I spent teaching and coaching at SAU. I've had the opportunity to see the challenges that small HBCUs face, particularly as they relate to funding and resource required to launch new initiatives and programs, end quote. Jonas said, an idea and a platform that Schoolcast provides the opportunity to kill several birds with one stone. We can create a new hands-on learning opportunity in a real sports-related startup, while at the same time generating potential new revenue sources for the school and creating a model and process by which we can launch future initiatives, end quote. Love it when HBCU's minds become innovative, creative, and get things done. Shout out to the professor there. Got to find a way to catch up with him. I got to ask him a little more what that looks like. But that's fascinating when you talk about HBCU's professors there at that level creating new ways to get things done. So keep on the lookout for Schoolcast. With that being said, let me go back to you, Charles. What else is on your mind?
Yeah, well, this is breaking news coming in this afternoon. Benedict College has a new head football coach, as Ron Dickerson Jr. will now take over the Benedict program. And this is coming to us from the state, South Carolina-based newspaper by way of HBCU Sports. And he will be formally introduced at a Thursday press conference. He replaces Chennis Berry, who left the program to take the head coaching job at South Carolina State. But, of course, we know Ron Dickerson Jr., he has some stops within HBCUs. Not only has he coached HBCUs, he coached specifically Morgan State and Jackson State. So comes with some experience coming over to the Benedict Tiger program. So kudos to Benedict. They've named their new head football coach, Ron Dickerson Jr.
Man, he comes into a strong program that's really taken the next step over the last 2 years on fascinating. I'm going to take it back a little bit. I'm going to show how long I've been in the game. I remember covering Ron Dickerson Sr. When he was coaching at Alabama State for a while. That's many, many moons for those that have come on the scene lately. They'd be like, who, what? Did he really? Yes, go check out the record books. I remember being out there doing that. And here we go. His son is back in the game as the head coach at Benedict College. Fascinating. Hope to see him do well, because I think that would be a unique perspective to talk about father-son duo coaching at HBCU. With that being said, let me go to you, Mike. What else is on your plate?
Well, looks like the Atlanta Braves are going to host the 4th annual Ralph Garbill Lucas Baseball HBCU Baseball Classic, March 1st through 2nd. From Allen, Georgia. And that's from AllenGeorgia.com. So the Braves will host their 4th annual weekend series between 2 HBCU baseball programs in this classic. The 2-game series will be played at Cool Ray Field. I like the way that sounds. Cool Ray. I'd like the way that rolls off. Cool Ray Field, home of the Braves, AAA affiliate, the Gwinnett Stripers. Stripers, I'm sorry, March 1st through 2nd. Grambling State University will take on Florida A&M, the alma maters of Braves Hall of Famers Ralph Garr and Bill Lucas. It's designed to highlight baseball programs at historically Black colleges and universities in the Southeast. The showcase provides an opportunity to expose student athletes, sports staff, and coaches to a major league setting. FAMU took 2 of the 3-game series as a Grambling versus Grambling State in 2023. The inaugural series took place in 2021. The Braves will honor Mr. Garr and Mr. Lucas's legacy with an on-the-field presentation on Friday, March 1st. Throughout the weekend, fans are invited to create their own baseball card. I'm gonna build my own baseball card. You know I got my own baseball card anyway, so I'm going to get another one. So first pitch is slated at 5 p.m. on Friday, March 1st. Go out and check it, folks, if you got a chance. This is really good stuff. So
good stuff. Quickly before we go in this break, I got to tease Charles a little bit. Southern University Human Jukebox voted 2023 HBCU Sports Band of the Year.
I saw that. And
the championship was against Jackson State. That's why I want to mess with Charles. He just can't win. You talking about being right on the tip of championships. It just ain't been that way in a while. But I want to shout out Ken Rashad because he put his money where his mouth is in terms of awarding it. $2,500 donation goes to the band. With that being said, as according to HBCUsports.com, those that voted on the 2023 HBCU Sports Band of the Year, champion is none other than the Human Jukebox of Southern, as they get it done with a 65% to 34%, 17,000 votes to just under 10,000 votes, if you would, for Southern over Jackson State. So we'll take our first break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll get into some additional dialogue. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this first break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get into some of this basketball talk as we do that. We're going to do with the major division, mid-major, some matchups for this weekend. I want to see where y'all go. Chivalry's not dead, so we'll start with the women in terms of the SWAC. Some of these matchups we touched on a little bit, but I want to go deeper into it in terms of these matchups. Let me go down the list before we specifically see what direction you want to take in this move. We have Alcorn State, the Lady Braves, are on the road in Tallahassee with the FAMU. You have Jackson State is on the road in Bethune-Cookman as the Mississippi schools take the Florida road trips. You have Mississippi Valley on the road to Grambling and Pine Bluff of Southern as Valley and Pine Bluff respectively stay in Louisiana. Then you have the Alabama schools going to Texas. That's Alabama A&M, Texas Southern on Saturday, Alabama State on Prairie View. Obviously, that flips big game, big weekend, 6 matchups in terms of what's going on. Before I go to you first, Charles, let me break down the records for those. Just the top 6, if you would, in terms of those that are in the mix here. Starting with Alabama A&M Bulldogs, they're in a 4-way tie with the next 3 teams, which are Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, and Southern Jaguars that are all at 3-2 early on the season. You have Grambling Lady Tigers that are at 4-1, and Jackson State is undefeated. Obviously, they're the new number 1 ranked team this week, Big Mike, in terms of Dr. Phil's inside the poll, as Norfolk State dropped a game this past weekend that surprised everybody as Howard at home took it to the Lady Spartans up there. It was fascinating, the matchup. And we'll talk a little bit about the MEAC, see what's going on that side. But before we do that, let me see what your thoughts are. I'm going to go curveball. I'm going to go to you, Mike, first. So you, Charles, since Mike has been nice to me. I'm going to see what your thoughts are, Mike, in terms of where are you seeing the key matchups this weekend?
Yeah, I was looking through that earlier, and I like, first of all, the Alabama teams going to Texas.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons, because you have about 1 million teams that are sitting at 2-3, and the other 1 million are sitting at 3-2, as you alluded to. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I got this right. You've got, what is it? Alabama State and Alabama A&M is at 3-2.
Alabama A&M is the one at 3-2. State is really having it done here at 1-4.
Yeah, State is the one that's 1-4. So I didn't want to make sure I got that right. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting that Alabama A&M really going to Texas, playing Southern, playing to TSU, who is 2-4, and playing Prairie View, who's 2-3. You got the reason why I say that. If you look at the cut, teams are 5 games in. And there's parity in the league. We talked about this around this time last year. I don't know if you both remember that we had a bunch of teams sitting at like 3 and whatever, and a bunch of teams sitting at this record. It'll be interesting to see how Alabama A&M plays on the road. They're in 4th place. They have a 1-game win streak. So I want to see how they play going on the road against the Texas team. Jackson State being number 1, I'm not really surprised that they're back at number 1, the number 1 spot. They have a 5-game winning streak. I think that'll continue, as well as they. Who do they have? I think they have Bethune as well. So I expect them to go through Bethune and Florida A&M. So, but I'd like to see how a team like Alabama A&M goes when they got to go to Texas this point in the season. That's the one that stands out. There are a few more, but that kind of makes me scratch my head. The other one, if you'll allow me, is I want to see how far Grambling State. They're on a 3-game winning streak. So I want to see how far they can take it. They've shown surprisingly this good early in the season. I want to see how good they can take it. So how well they can take it. They have Mississippi Valley coming up, I believe, and then Pine Bluff. And Pine Bluff is playing some surprisingly good ball. So I'd like to see how they go. Not really against Valley, but more so against Pine Bluff.
Good stuff there, Mike. I'm fascinated when you talk about that 3-game win streak with Grambling, which included the big win over Southern Arrival. And obviously, anybody coming in that game that's kept up with the season could have saw Grambling winning the game, but they dominated Southern, which was intriguing to me. So let me go to you, Charles, and get your side of these games and what's on your mind, what's taking place.
I think the one that intrigues me most, I think Jackson State has been there. Everything is advertised. But this is a big trip going to Florida. And a team that has really turned my head has been Bethune-Cookman, and especially with that win on the road against UAPB, knocking off that Zay Green-led team. big win on the road. And when you take a look at it, they have a couple players to keep an eye on, especially when you take a look at the team overall. They're one of the top defenses in the SWAC. And they have one of the top rebounders in the SWAC as well with Cale Clark. And then Chanel Wilson is also one of the top scorers in the conference, going up against a formidable Jackson State offensive squad, one of the top offensive squads in the conference. We know what Jackson State does well. They rebound like no other. They get out in transition. They score that way. Second chance points. And now they got bench help as well. So they are overall one of the better teams we've watched thus far this season. 5-game win streak. But they take on the road, hostile atmosphere, more gym. We sat around one night watching the men's game, how crunk it gets up in Moore. So it should be a fun matchup this weekend with Jackson State going to Bethune-Cookman and taking on FAMU as well.
Obviously, the game's on Monday flip. So we won't jump in there because I want to go into MEAC, but that UAPB Grambling game on Monday is going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
UAB comes in 8-10, probably has stumped their toe a little bit, not inserted themselves in the conference as much as I'm sure they would like. But Grambling has surprised some folks and playing some really good basketball. But I'm fascinating what that looks like. Can we see the Lady Golden Lions really push through and maybe start to ratchet it up? The expectations as where they came into the season, particularly how well they played in a lot of ways in the preseason. So I'm fascinated with that. But I want to talk a little bit about the MEAC and give you these matchups of what's taking place here. Howard at Morgan State, South Carolina State at Delaware State, North Carolina Central at Maryland Eastern Shore, and you have Coppin State at Norfolk. Surprising to everybody in a lot of ways is probably that Norfolk State game. Coppin State is undefeated, 3-0. It's early, but they're 3-0. And Norfolk State, again, they lost that road game to Howard. Is fascinating coming that game on 2-1 record in terms of that loss coming in the conference game against Howard. With that being said, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the MEAC key matchups here?
That's going to be a good one. Coppin State at Norfolk. I think you touched on it. The question for me, can Norfolk, the way Norfolk plays defense, can Coppin State overcome that? You're talking about a Norfolk State team. They really beat you up on the offensive rebounds. With regards to offensive rebounds, almost 17 offensive rebounds per game. And then they have one of the top defenders in the MEAC as well when you're talking about Nia Fields. 45 steals thus far on the season. That's number one in the MEAC. So Norfolk really gets after you on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be a tough for Coppin State to go in and get that W.
Mike, what about you in terms of the MEAC?
Man, I don't even want to talk about the MEAC. Man, seriously.
How you really feel?
It's not nice.
No, I find it odd that, if you look at who's first place, the leading scoring team is scoring 69 points a game, and Norfolk State's kind of in second, scoring about 67. Maryland Eastern Shore, Delaware State, and then you see Coppin State down there. But right now, if you look at the leaderboard this year, right now, this time, who's in first place? Coppin State. So, and I'm looking at their stats, and not a lot offensively jumps out. I haven't seen them play, to be honest, but there's a lot of defensive things that stand out to me. So I would be interested to see how they fare, as they go against,
they've gotten off to a good start.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's a very against Norfolk State, which is scoring higher offensively. So I'd like to see that game. That's a classic matchup. That's the one that stands out to me if I'm looking at the stats.
Charles, what do you say about the MEAC? Do you fall in line with Mike, or are you going in a different direction?
No, I mean, I think those are the games that we talked about. I think Coppin with the hot start, 2-0 thus far in conference play, going to Norfolk. Norfolk, surprising loss that we didn't see coming this past weekend. But I think that's the game that I'm really paying attention to in the MEAC. And then when you take a look at the road teams in the SWAC, like I mentioned, Jackson State making their Florida trip, and then taking a look at Monday night, UAPB and Grambling. Especially the way Grambling has looked thus far that was a head turner last week in terms of what they did to Southern. That was shocking, in fact.
Yeah.
Well, they flipped on Monday in the way that the MEAC, you may not have caught it, they don't have necessarily a Monday series where they're at home Saturday and then home Monday. They actually flip and go on the road, even though they switch the opponents. So it gets interesting when you talk about Monday because you have Coppin on Saturday, obviously going to Norfolk, but then Coppin is at home on Monday against Howard, which is the team we just talked about beating Norfolk. So Coppin has a big weekend where they can make a major statement to show that they are for real in terms of what takes place in the MEAC, or they can fade out really fast. So it'll be fascinating to see what they get done, as you allude to in the matchups there. On the women's side, quickly, as you talk about the poll rankings in a lot of ways for the mid-major on the women's side, it's interesting in a lot of ways. No real changes going on there in terms of the teams getting into it. A little updates in terms of those rankings for those women in those directions, but we'll talk about that, a little bit of the mix there and get into it. But I do want to take our first break, come back on the other side and get into some more talk about some HBCU basketball.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em! It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Let's go to the men's side, and we'll sneak in some updates with the independents as we go through the MEAC and the SWAC. We're going to start with the MEAC in terms of these matchups. You have North Carolina Central at Maryland Eastern Shore, South Carolina State at Delaware State, Coppin State at Norfolk, and Howard at Morgan. That's the Saturday games. Think about the standings On the women's side, you had Coppin State coming in 3-0. Well, not to be outdone on the men's side, Delaware State 3-0 as well. Fascinating when you talk about some of these matchups here. So I want to ask you, Mike, what are your thoughts and what are key games that you're keeping your eyes on this weekend in the MEAC with the major division games?
Yeah, I always look at the top one. So, I want to see, number one, when a team butts out, you got Delaware State. I guess they're going against South Carolina State, and then you got Norfolk State going up against Coppin State. So I think that one to me is a key matchup. You got two kind of middle of the pack folks. You want to see, are they going to stay in the middle of the pack? You also look at statistics and like you see who's leading the pack and scoring. So I want to see how those two end up as well. So those are the two that stand out to me.
With that being said, Charles, what are your thoughts in regards to some of these matchups here on the MEAC side? I know on Monday, I think it gets really a little more interesting in them Saturday games when you have Delaware State taking on North Carolina Central. Obviously, I like to see it, and I got to believe that Delaware State's going to get it done against South Carolina State, even though South Carolina State got that win over Central a couple weeks ago. So be careful. So
I say don't sleep on South Carolina State.
Yeah, I think you touched on the one that I was really looking at. I mean, when you take a look at Delaware State 3-0 start, best start in the past 17 seasons. So this is a big weekend in terms of taking on a South Carolina State that really knocked off North Carolina Central. Who saw that coming last week? So that should be a fun contest. And then I think you guys touched on it with Norfolk State, Coppin State coming into Norfolk State this weekend. To me, again, you got to go against a tough Norfolk State squad. That's going to be, I think, a tough game for Coppin State to go in and try to steal one on the road.
And then you have a chance to look at going into the SWAC, sticking with you, Charles. Obviously, we broke down the games in the matchup, same men's and women's, what that looks like. But you have different records in terms of who's at the top. Jackson State continues to be solid as they're tied with Grambling State, as well as Alabama State at 4-1. Just behind them, you have Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Bethune-Cookman quietly, along with Southern at 3-2. Some of the bigger dogs, if you would, are those past teams that have played really well, are a little behind the mix there. It'll be interesting to see if they can throw some punches to get back into it, but fascinating what that looks like. But give me your thoughts in terms of the SWAC matchups this week.
Yeah, and I think that this will be a stern contest for Arkansas Pine Bluff when you talk about the Southern Grambling doing the Louisiana trip this weekend. You get opportunity to really see if Pine Bluff is really going to stick around, if they're going to be for real. I'm also very curious. Alabama State, they started out 4-1 in conference play. They do the Texas two-step this weekend. We know that'll be tough with Texas Southern and Prairie View. Prairie View, impressive win over Jackson State last weekend. Jackson State, great bounce-back win over Texas Southern. So that'll be a great matchup, I believe, Saturday on HBCU Go with Alabama State and Texas Southern.
That's going to be a nice one. I'm with you. That's going to be fascinating. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of some key SWAC matchups for you?
So I'm looking at Grambling, and off to the start, they're on about a 4-3 winning streak. They've won 5 out of their last 6. They have Valley, and then they have Pine Bluff. That'd be interesting to me. To see how those two fare. Pine Bluff's playing really tough, so I'll be interested to see how those two fare. You have 3 teams at 3-2, and so that's Southern, Bethune-Cookman, and Pine Bluff. So I'd be interested. The other thing is Southern also plays Pine Bluff as well. So I'd like to see how that one comes out. That'll be interesting to me. If you look at 2 teams that are clawing in the middle, Alabama State right now is kind of sitting in the catbird seat. We'll see if they can hold it, but I want to see who's clawing in the middle. So that's Southern, Pine Bluff. You know, that's going to be a dogfight in the middle with those teams that are 3 and those 3 or 4 teams that are 3-2.
Good stuff. Before we go to this next break and come back on the other side, I did want to give some love to Tennessee State as they jump to the number 1 in the poll. They have a big game this weekend They only play one. They don't play the Thursday night game tonight. They play on Saturday. It'd be fascinating to see what that looks like. North Carolina A&T is at the top of their poll on the women's side when we look at our independent program. So that's some fascinating things to kind of look at to see if they can push it. They have big games this weekend. North Carolina A&T on the men have gotten pretty impressive in terms of what they've done. They have some big matchups to really make a statement, much like we were talking about Delaware State potentially. They can do it in the Colonial. We'll see what that looks like in terms of those teams. On the mid-major side, got to make sure we shout out Langston. They continue to roll. They play tonight. Can they maintain that momentum, staying undefeated? I don't see why not, but I always want to keep an eye in terms of the mid-majors. Some other programs are doing pretty well over there. As I said, in terms of those mid-major programs, it's interesting when you look at the top teams there. I want to do it for the women quickly. Xavier, it stays at 5. Miles Golden Ladies were not ranked, but they jump into it. Those Golden Bears down there, if you would, at 53 is they're undefeated in conference play quietly in the West. Virginia State Trojans are still getting it done. One first place vote at 16-2. Fayetteville State Lato Broncos are in the mix, and Russ Lady Bears are the new number 1 on the women's side of the poll rankings this week. Let's jump up and look at the men in terms of what's going on there on their side. Fascinating in terms of those rankings, if you would. Who looks in the men's? A lot of things are changing. Told you the Wild SAC, particularly in the East Division, that's going to go down the wire, it seems like. So I got to keep my eyes on that. But not any changes in the top 5. Xavier, Louisiana, the Gold Rush do drop 1 spot to 5. Clark Atlanta Panthers move up to 4. Benedict Tigers at number 3. Talladega Tornadoes are running in the GCAC 16-1, 8-0, and the Langston Lions, as we said, are undefeated, looking good in terms of what looks like there. Talking about some football, we'll come back on the other side and we'll get into some football. I know we had the matchup that we focused on a little bit with Orange Blossom Classic with Alabama State. North Carolina Central is going to be fascinating in terms of what that looks like. Andrew Body taking his talents to the Hornets. Got a new quarterback on North Carolina Central that played and earned a championship just 2 years ago. Going to be intriguing matchups. But we're going to turn the page and take you to Texas Southern to see if they can find a way to make a run. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We have none other than Mr. Chris Dishman, the new head coach of Texas Southern University, as he was introduced on Tuesday at Shell Energy Stadium. Robust interviews there. A lot of excitement going on with the new head football coach taking on with the Tigers. How's it going? Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you guys for having me on. You know, the last 2 weeks, things been pretty good. Our guys
been a roller coaster. I know that you.
No, I was saying
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The coaches and myself has been out recruiting already, so we're just trying to bring more people to the Tiger Nation.
I appreciate you. I see you on the road getting in some recruiting. Anything exciting to tell us about, or do you want to hold off a little bit on the recruiting and say you're going to surprise them in February?
Yeah, I surprised you there because we don't want to really give out a lot of secrets. You know, we had an enemy in the building yesterday, so we don't want to give them a heads up of what we're doing. And so I think we have done a great job in recruiting. The coaches have been working tirelessly to get guys in here. But like I told our gentlemen, our players two days ago, that the meat and potatoes of this team is already here. We don't need to go out and wholesale and do this or do that. We can win with the players in the room. So we just try to get pieces here and there, before we can get out and win a championship. Because the first thing I told them is I want to win, not just one game, all games. So when you go into the game with the growth mindset of you're going to win every single game, no matter what goes wrong, you got to continuously pushing forward and continuously push for that W.
Before we get in maybe a little bit of the staff, I wanted to go back on Tuesday and talk about Coach Bubba McDowell. Obviously, it's been all over the place now, so all our followers know that you played with the Houston Oilers. You were there when and played with Bubba McDowell, and not to be outdone, you actually had Alabama State's head coach Eddie Robinson Jr. on the team as well. Just fascinating when you're making the mix and you take it out of the SWAC. A year later, as you leave and continue your career, you have Eddie George that now is the coach at Tennessee State as he's making moves with a lot of noise as his defensive coordinator. But talk a little bit about how unique it was. I'm not sure how many times you'll see at a press conference that literally the rival institution head coach is there just to welcome you to the conference and exciting for the opportunity that you have in front of you.
Well, Bubba, it's not, as everyone knows, Bubba McDowell and I we're like brothers. He the one pushed me to go after the Texas Southern job. He was always, you heard anything? I said, no, nothing yet. And he's probably the second person I called when I did hear I was getting a job. So him and I, we're going to always be friends. We can compete against each other but still have a friendly relationship, a brother relationship, rather, not a friend. We're not friends, we're brothers.
No doubt. I'm sure. I appreciate you sharing that. It probably reminds those that have brothers, they remember playing in the backyard basketball, or in your case, playing a little bit of football, throwing it out. And those battles got pretty tough back there. Now, when you came back in the house, Mom made sure that y'all loved each other and sat at the table. So I can imagine, we understand and can relate to the fact when it kicks off, whistle blows, toe beats leather, it's time to get down. But before and after that, certainly have the brother relationship. With that being said, let me let the star of the show in a lot of ways that line this up. Charles, get in here and ask the question.
Well, welcome, Coach Dishman, to Dr. Fields Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. And even further, welcome to Texas Southern University.
Thank you so much. Like I said, I'm so excited about getting started. It's going to be, like I said, I've been coaching I've been coaching 19 years. And you always dream of an opportunity to become a head coach. And now that dream has came true. So you guys are going to get my best each and every day, no matter what. I'm going to give you my best each and every day, and hopefully my best is good enough where we can win the championship.
No doubt about it. And I want to kind of follow up on Dr. Ville. He mentioned Coach Bubba McDowell being there at the press conference, but I'm very curious. How are those defensive meetings? Did you guys know that you all had the makings of head coaches one day when you're talking about Bubba McDowell, yourself, Eddie Robinson, all in those defensive meetings, especially around defensive chalk talk?
No, we didn't. At least I didn't. When you plan, you don't really think about coaching. You just think about playing, doing the best you possibly do at your position. And then as life goes on, you think about coaching and think about other things. It's just how God works in great ways that he brings four of us into the coaching world. But we got more. I think the Houston Oilers, I'm not for sure about this, and we've had to look this up, but the Houston Oilers have more coaches than I think any other team. You have four already there. You have Steve Jackson, Marcus Robinson, Blaine Bishop, I think, is coaching. So Ernest Givens was coaching for a while. So we have so many guys out there coaching. You know, so that's what made. I think that's why was a great team as players. Now we all turn into coaching.
That's fascinating. I appreciate that.
Go ahead, Mike. Jump in there and ask a follow-up.
Yeah, Coach. Again, welcome. You see this PV in the background, but we all family. So if you want to share any secrets, I promise you, I won't tell anybody. No, congratulations again. And I guess I wanted to ask a question. You know, your background, your coaching background is extensive, and you've had success, you know, in the XFL and the NFL. And one of the characteristics of your coaching experience has been the defensive success. So if I may ask, you know, going into this thing, what are some of the characteristics of your defensive philosophy that you've used in other places that you plan to bring to TSU? If you could give me 2 or 3 of your nuggets, if you will.
The same thing, being aggressive, being smart, have high football IQ, try to get through a game with no penalties. It probably is impossible to get through the game without any penalties, but smart penalties. If a guy's about to beat you on a touchdown, it's okay to grab him. You know, it's okay to grab the receiver. But if he's not trying to beat you on a touchdown, don't reach out and grab receivers and get pass interference calls, offsides penalties that you can control, like offsides, trying to be a tough guy after the whistle, hitting someone after the whistle. Those penalties you can control. Those penalties are called selfish penalties. You know, everybody want to be a tough guy after the whistle. Don't be a tough guy after the whistle. Be a tough guy during the whistle or before the whistle.
Wow. Thank you, Coach.
Coach, I wanted to follow up a little bit in terms of those penalties first. And you hear that. And obviously it's important in coaching to not be very penalized because it can hurt your team. Over the years and experience, going back to when you started coaching in 2004 all the way to the present, you know, 20 years, as you said, experience in different capacities at different levels, which is fascinating, almost too much to name in regards to people not understanding all the types of ways that you've seen football. Are there certain things that you can do in regards to players of putting them in the position not to have a lot of penalties? Or is that something like you recruit that you can tell in terms of recruiting players that may not be penalized? Can you take us a little bit inside the head coach's mindset of what does that mean when you say we don't want to create penalties?
You have to stress them during practice. You have to make practice as hard as possible. You got to stress them. You got to hard count. You got to do different stuff. You got to run them on gassers, have them come back. Now let's run a play. You have to run them on 440s, runs. Now run around the track 2 or 3 times, then come back and let's make a play. Because when you're fresh, you don't make mistakes. You only make mistakes when you're tired. So we got to stress the guys during practice. Our practice is going to be very intense. We're going to tackle. We're going to hit. We're going to play football in practice. We're going to make sure that they understand where they have to be each and every time. It's not I can get there. I can almost get there. You got to get there. And we're going to stress our guys in practice. So I'm sure it's going to be kind of a rude awakening for those guys, but change is good. In order to win championships, you have to have change. You can't stay the same. So each and every day, every player have to improve on what they're doing. They have to show me before they go out to practice, what are you going to improve on today? What are you going to improve over today? Because no one wake up and say, oh, you know what? I think I'll be second place. We always want to be first place.
Well, I know defenses win championships, but offenses sell tickets. And when I say championships, obviously the first goal is the SWAC championship, and now you have the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. Not to brag, Coach, not to brag. But these gentlemen here, we've been in Atlanta since the celebration started. So we'll be there. We're going to look forward to see the Tigers get there as well. Mike will say, hold on, he wants the Prairie View there. So that first Labor Day Classic goes some way in maybe deciding that. But anyway, with that being said, let's get to the offensive side. Sell some of these tickets. Let us know what's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, offensively, if they score 10 points and the opponent scores 7 points, I think that's a win for us. So we want our offense to score more points than the opponent scored. If the opponent scored 30 points, they have to score either 31 or 32 points. So offensively, we're going to run the ball. We're going to have good sound offense. And the same thing is offense as well as defense. Not jumping off sides, not having penalties that can hurt you. You know, if we in field goal range, and it's 3rd and 4 and 3rd whatever, let's say 3rd and 4, and then one of our guys jump off sides, that's a penalty. That's pushing us back and making it for a harder kick. So it's just playing smart football. You know, high football IQ guys who be able to make it work. And the quarterback taking care of the football. You know, no interceptions, no fumbles. And the running backs high and tight. The ball is supposed to be run high and tight. Put that ball underneath your arm and protect the football. Because studies have shown, I did a study when I was with the Chargers, that the team who win the turnover battle, win 3rd down, and don't have no selfish penalties, you should come out with a victory.
I remember that. Turnovers.
Yep.
Lacking the penalties.
3rd down.
Those are part of the key ingredients to winning games.
And
With that being said,
3rd down.
3rd down.
3rd down percentage. I'm gonna keep my little chart this year in the swag and see if it works. In the swag, be like, look, I got the mess. I'm gonna make some money betting too. After I get about 3/4 of the way through the season. Charles, go ahead and follow up.
No doubt, real quickly, and you mentioned the meat potatoes being there on campus now with Texas Southern. But as you look at it now, what do you identify as TSU football's most pressing need?
Well, like I said, I think we just get pieces in. You know, I think we be a very good football team, and you guys be very proud of how these guys gonna work. You know, we start our strength and conditioning within another week or so. You know, they're gonna be a lot of guys getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. You know, so they're gonna be out. They got to get to bed at night before they can get up in the morning. You know, I'm a morning person. I've always been a morning person. I wake up 4:30, 5 o'clock. I say my prayers. After my prayers, I drink my coffee, and then I start my day. You know, so I'm expecting our young men to be morning people too, but not everybody's a morning person. You know, but we're gonna have 4 a.m. runs.
Oh yeah.
You know, so we're gonna have 5 a.m. lifts. We're gonna have those lifts because it's mental. You know, 90% of football is mental. 10% of it is only the physical part.
Right.
You know, we can teach you how to do the physical part, but we can't. We can try to teach you the mental part, but you have to be the coach of your own body. Players have to coach their own body. I can't tell you when to go to sleep. I can't tell you stop eating that Big Mac. I can tell you to put nutritional drinks in your body and not the sodas and not the iced teas. Now, don't get me wrong. I like iced tea now, okay? But you can't put but I'm not playing. So I can drink iced tea.
That's right.
Right. Exactly.
You know? So
I like that. That's a really good nugget in terms of understanding your body. Like, we can coach plays. We can coach you physically. We can bulk you up, take you down. But at some point, there's an ownership in a lot of ways, it seems, that you're talking about. And the ownership is in your body. And you can take that away from football in terms of as you mature in age and life, is the ability to really control those things you can control, but certainly important in sports and nonetheless football. Mike, go ahead and follow up with your question. We'll get Coach out of there. We want to make sure he gets a chance to finish up recruiting. Yeah. We don't want him to have any problem saying inside the HBC Sports Lab, I would get this last kid. I had him. One more
talking about they held me up.
I got to get there before Bubba McDowell get there.
So Coach, I'll just go real easy with you. And we talked X's and O's. You know, you know what it needs, you know, for your team, you know. But as you take a look at the SWAC, you look at the rivalries, you look at how the SWAC plays, you look at how the MEAC plays. You know, have you taken a look at the playing styles and, you know, what excites you the most going into this job? Is it playing tough defenses? Is it playing the rivalries? Is it a combination of the above?
Sarah, you know, I'm the type of person, I take care of home. And I don't look at no one else, what they're doing or what they're not doing. I look at what the Tigers could do. So I've been so concentrating on what the Tigers can and cannot do, and that's where I'm attacking it. So if we have like I said before, if we have the more points than the other team, then that's called victory for us. And I'm just trying to get our guys to understand that we have to change our mindset of what we're doing. We have to change our bodies. And we have to make sure that we can't do what we did last year. We can't say, well, last year we did this. Well, last year is last year. We can't go back. We got to, from that point forward, we got to go forward. I'm a forward-thinking person. So I'm not looking at any film last year. I'm not looking at any film 2 years from now. Everyone has a chance to play, from a walk-on to a scholarship player. Because spring ball would tell me exactly where you're going to be. Because I'm going to stress them. I'm going to stress them during spring ball. I'm going to stress them during practice. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm sorry. I'd rather for a person to break during practice than break during the game. Because we have time to correct him during practice. We won't have time to correct him during the game.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we know your time is valuable. We appreciate you giving some of that time today. We look forward. We'll be around for spring practice, so we'll get out there, get a chance to see a little bit of the Tigers and see how things are going. And we certainly want to get a chance to talk with you throughout the spring ball and then back in the season to give some updates about each of the games and coming up with that. So we look to follow up with you, Coach.
Sound good, guys. I'm sorry I was late, but I appreciate you guys. I'll be on again, hopefully.
Oh, yeah,
Appreciate
no problem.
you,
We look forward to getting you back.
All right.
We'll take our next break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll be right back after this last break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Mike, you wasn't able to join us on Tuesday, and they released the football schedule with some of the key matchup games. And so they have the holistic schedule, but wanted to ask you, and then Charles can chime back in, because it's always football season and people always want to talk some football. Releasing these schedules at once was something I talked about during that 2021 inaugural season of the new expansion with 12 members. But it's upon us now, and shout out to the SWAC as Andrew, I believe, got this one right by breaking it down and releasing the schedule. So wanted to give you a thought to kind of give us your thoughts in terms of what are some big matchups that you're looking forward to and why.
So,
for you, Mike.
I guess yeah, can you hear me? Personally, I noticed that Prairie View has FAMU at homecoming in the way deep in the month of November. So I thought that was interesting. Um, so I won't touch that one. So I think the other one I would like to see is
That's
that
fascinating because you can let people in on that. Not only obviously we played FAMU for homecoming in terms of Prairie View last year, so you returning the favor some way. But last year, homecoming for Prairie was in November, but traditionally it's more of October, late October. Every 3-4 years you get it in November. So now it's in the November 2 years in a row. One is the new thing with the president coming in. It's something that maybe it'll shift to November. But I'm fascinating with that matchup as well with FAMU coming to town. Obviously, there'll be a new coach. And we'll see a lot of those matchups with new coaches this year. So I'm intrigued about that as well.
Yeah, see, the Jackson FAMU game, that's a new deal. That's in October as opposed to the leadoff game of the season. Looking forward to that game, but it's going to be different. It's close to the middle of the season. So that should be interesting. I guess, and I think that one is where in Jackson State, right?
Yeah, it is in Jackson. Yeah, the Rattlers come to Jackson.
Yeah. So the Rattlers come to Jackson.
Charles, what type of attendance, before I let Mike continue, Charles, what kind of attendance you think is going to happen for that game?
Well, will the Rattler fan base get on the road? That's the question. But I think easily you can get an easy 35 in the Jackson, especially this game is starting to become a budding rivalry, and we'll see where the momentum of both teams is by that October game. So it could go upwards of 40,000 because I think playing in Vet is going to be a hostile environment, and for the Jackson State fan base to not have to go down to Miami to meet up with FAMU. A little different stakes this year, a little different cast of characters. So we'll see if that game continues to hold the interest of the SWAC fan base.
Mike, before I let you finish and give a couple of more of key games, I do want to go back to the Orange Blossom Classic since we're talking about it now having new teams since the FAMU Jackson State game has moved. You have Andrew Body coming in there versus North Carolina Central. So you get that MEAC SWAC challenge thing going on where we always look forward to those kind of matchups. Obviously, you have Trey Oliver, coach over there, whose name for some people was into the Florida A&M. He came back and later said, no, that was not the case. He talked to me and asked my opinion on that. But obviously, he won the National Black College Champion just 2 years ago. He's familiar with the time he spent in the SWAC. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of not in attendance? That's a whole different question. But in terms of the matchup early on, what are your early thoughts in terms of that potential matchup?
Of which matchup?
The Orange Blossom Classic with Alabama State and North Carolina Central.
I think it'll be a fun matchup. When you talk about North Carolina Central, a team that has been to the mountaintop, Black College National Champions, and Alabama State is a buzzworthy team, no pun intended, with regards to their upward trajectory. They finished second in the SWAC East, right there behind FAMU. Are they able to make this ascendancy to the top? And in a lot of ways, that game will be a determinant as to if Alabama State is for real, because we know the type of team Trey Oliver is going to put out on the field. They're going to be a tough football team, and you get a sort of an early look-see at what Alabama State is with a potential new quarterback.
Yep. You also have the MEAC SWAC Challenge game, which will feature FAMU and Norfolk State. You have South Carolina State traveling to FAMU in terms of MEAC SWAC matchup. But again, looking at the conference schedule, last game or two, Mike, what else has your interest? And I have one additional question I want to ask both of you all before we bring it to a close.
Well, you took my last one, and that was the newly revised Orange Blossom Classic. Wanted to see how Andrew Body was going to perform and see what I also want to see what the attendance, what the fan involvement is going to be like with this new version of it. So those are the three that kind of stand out to me.
Sticking with you, Mike, I want to ask this question. To me, it's going to be a challenge selecting like your order of finish coming into the SWAC. Obviously, the coaches and SIDs will do it. We'll do it as those um, prognosticators that talk football. But give us some insight, at least early. What are you starting to look for that's going to give you some indication of who you think coming into the year for the fall at that time is going to be indicators that you're going to use for where you select your teams?
Indicators, I would have to say one of the biggest questions we kept asking, even going back to SWAC Media Day, who's leading the team? So you look to your leaders. Do they have a solid foundation in your leaders? Your quarterbacks, what's your defense like? Is it a returning defense? Is it a experienced defense? Or is it a completely new one? Is it 100% transfer portal? Or is it a combination of organic transfer portal? Those are indicators that I look to. The other ones I looked at, is it new coaching? Does this team have to do with a new coaching scheme, new coaching philosophy? That could factor in. It may factor in a positive way. It may take 1 or 2 years for that coaching to adjust, but that's a factor. To me, that's a data point. But the number one data point for me is the leaders. Who's your quarterback? Who's leading the team? And what's your defense like? Who are the key leaders on that team? Are they solid? You can build the other core pieces, but it starts there. Those are two key main data points for me.
Charles, I saw you shaking your head in affirmation in regards to several of the things that Mike said, but I still want to give you a chance to respond. What are some indicators that you're going to use? Are you aligned with Mike? Or are you going to add some things, or are you going in a different direction?
I think because of all the upheaval that we've seen in the SWAC this offseason, the coaching changes, transfer portal, personnel changes, who are the teams that show the most stability, especially on the defensive side of the ball? What pieces are you bringing back on the defensive side of the ball? Who has a running game until these quarterbacks get up and going and get comfortable within their system? So I'm starting to pay attention to, a few of the pieces that are coming back. And if you have some things, it's a golden opportunity for the meek to inherit the earth, because I think this is going to be a wild, wild fall when you take a look at everything that has gone on within the SWAC. You're talking about coaching changes at Prairie View, Grambling, Texas Southern, FAMU. There's going to be a golden key out there for somebody.
Yeah, somebody's going to get a parachute, and boy, they're going to ride it to either extended contract, certainly put their name in the record book, at least in terms of SWAC championship, and they might find a way to get it done with the national championship. So yeah. I'm fascinated. I think both of you all are in line with my thoughts in terms of who's going to be the quarterback, which for the most part, we just don't know. Even with those watching Andrew Body talking about what he brings to Alabama State, I think him not playing for a year, I'm not sure how you could be that confident in terms of what he brings.
And I'm not ready to pencil him in as a starter there yet.
That's even a bigger point.
That's a good point
you have to make. And I'm glad you put it out there, because people have just pretty much penciled him in. And I think there will be something to say, particularly spring ball, but certainly as you head into the fall ball. The other thing that is intriguing to me is you said was defenses. Who has a strong defense, who are able to keep many pieces from their defenses with the transfer portal, and who can add some key pieces to that defense. Because with so many new coaches bringing in offenses, trying to start their offenses from last year and mixing it in with ultimately new signal callers, I think you'll see the offenses be slowed a little bit, particularly when they play tougher defenses. So those teams that are able to do it on defense, I'm aligned with that. But I like what you said, Charles, in terms of the opportunities. The other thing that's going to be fascinating to me is taking a closer look and see who are the home teams. Who's going to be able to take advantage of being home in that home crowd, particularly if you can get the band involved, as we always talked about. Who's going to be able to get a little extra push for those ancillary things that you may not need when you have a veteran type of coach or quarterback, solid defense where it would travel. Defenses travel on the road. Now you don't necessarily have all that. Who's going to be able to take advantage of the fact that the schedule just happens to fall in their favor with either not having some of the what would end up being the tougher teams on this schedule, and most certainly who's going to be able to get those games at home and then find a way to, at least split on the road, if not take a little more advantage of it. What does that look like? So that's something I hadn't quite heard of. And I looked at last year. I think it played a role, but I think it's going to play even a bigger role this year. So I like the points you make. But with that, let's put a pin on it. I had to get in some football talk. That's just what the money says around here, and what it is, especially when you drop a schedule. Charles laughed and he said it. Hey, man, it is what it is. Let it rock and roll. Viewers were talking about the game, so I say let's bring it back and get Mike's chance to talk about it and get your final thoughts, Charles. Appreciate it. With that being said, I want to say thank you for listening inside the HBC Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast, streaming platforms with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBC Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBC Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBC Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We'll be right here, so we need you here. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, that's DrKenyattacavil, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Inside the HBC Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, X now, formerly known as Twitter, as I'm tired of saying that, Facebook, YouTube, Inside the HBCU Lab. It is what it is. I still like to call it Twitter. It is Twitter. It's what your mamas call it, Twitter. That's what I'm going to call it, Twitter. Dream big, continue to move forward. But I look forward to seeing both of y'all tomorrow evening. We're going to celebrate and get it done. It's been a wild first week, but I made for it, so I appreciate y'all. With that being said, we'll talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.